Great. So welcome everyone to another round of webinars. This time it's a guest webinar and we have our visa partner, the Netherlands-America Foundation, who will present a few slides to you. So before I go through the agenda, I think a round of introductions is perfect. So if I could ask Willemijn Keizer to first introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Michelle. My name is Willemijn Keizer. I am the Executive Director of the Netherland-America Foundation and work with my colleague Maggie on various internship programs that we do and work very closely with Michelle in doing them. So thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
Yeah, and Maggie?
Hi, I'm Maggie Maloney. I am the Program Manager here at the Netherland-America Foundation.
Great, thank you both. So so the agenda today is, first I'll just do a round of housekeeping, then we'll have a more official introduction of what the Netherlands-America Foundation is. And then next we'll go through the visa process together with Maggie. So it's something that many of you, as you start your internship search, will encounter. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to explain it to all of you once and for all. And then we'll go through the Dutch to USA internship program that the NAF offers. And then Willemijn will explain some trends in the American internship market, which is very relevant for your internship search. And then I'll present some more personal costs involved, a bit of an overview as you think of more the logistical side of starting an internship in the US. All right, so housekeeping. So this is in a meeting format, so please do remember to mute yourself drop any questions that you have in the Q&A, just in the chat section, I mean. Then for each Q&A section, then I'll kind of read out the questions that you have and either Willemijn or Maggie or I can answer them for you. And then right at the end, we'll have a more interactive session if there's any questions left. I guess on that note, just please do remember to mute yourself. I am manning all those ships, so I can't go and mute you personally. Then this will be recorded. I think you've already heard the record voice. Then right at the end, just don't be scared to interact. This is your opportunity to ask any questions you have. There will be time at the end. And if you do want to message me anonymously or something, you can also do that. So and then I will hand over the mic to Maggie. So Maggie, and just let me know what I need to press next, obviously. But
thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. I am delighted to be speaking with you today. I and myself and Willemijn are representing the Netherland-America Foundation. So you can go to the next slide.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry.
So we're based in the US. We're a nonprofit here in New York City, and we've been in existence for over 100 years. And we've been maintaining and strengthening relations between the US and the Netherlands. One of our founders is FDR, former president of the United States. So we've been, offering impact in business, culture, education, and internships. We've been doing internships programs for about the last 5 or 6 years, and we are here as Internships in the Valley's J-1 visa partner. There are 10 chapters of our organization across the US as well, and there's one in the Netherlands. So please know that you're always welcome to any NAF events. We consider everyone part of our family if you're interested in Dutch-American relations and would ever like to attend one of them. So just know that. So I will be talking a bit more about the J-1 visa process. I'm going to go a little slow, and I don't expect you to completely understand what I'm talking about, but I expect you to use this as a resource if you would like to know, have any questions about the visa going forward. The questions that I will kind of be answering are things that I get from a lot of applicants who apply for a visa. So I'm just going to use this as a way to kind of preempt those questions, so you can watch this later if you have any questions. And I'll also be talking about our scholarship program here. So the visa process, it can be bureaucratic, and I would definitely allow 2 to 3 months for this process once you sign an offer letter to when you have your start date. The longer is always better, and it's mostly better for you. You don't really want to be too stressed out when acquiring this. There are, of course, instances where you may not have that luxury. So I'll just talk you through this and talk to you about the process that you can expect. So first note that you can only start this process once you have signed an offer letter with a company in the US. Sometimes people will ask me if they can just get started on their visa process and they don't have an offer letter. And the answer is no, because a large part of the visa has to do with your host company. So to clarify roles, the NAF, the Netherland-America Foundation, we call it the NAF, we are not the sponsor. CIEE is the sponsor of the visa. They are located in the US. They're a renowned visa sponsor for many, many candidates from around the world who wish to intern in the US. The NAF is your local representative. So, we really work with a lot of Dutch students who would like to get a visa, and we're mainly a pre-departure source. We also can vet your applications and make sure everything looks good and answer your questions, provide that one-on-one support. We can also answer questions, with CIE if they have any certain questions about Dutch universities. We're kind of like really the Dutch representative here. So we're here for pre-departure, while CIE is your sponsor. They will issue your DS 2019, which is the document that allows you to receive a visa. And they're really there for in-country support as well as health insurance. So actually, can you go back one slide?
Yeah, sorry.
So the NAF has the authority to start a visa application for you. Completing the application is your responsibility, and completing the training plan, or the DS 7002, is your host company's responsibility. So note that you won't have any controls over the training plan. You won't be able to help your host company fill it out or anything. It's really separate, and that's for a reason. This is a government document, and so they want to make sure that everything is in each person's silo. I did mention health insurance, and that is included in the visa. It's not something you can opt out of. And this is health insurance that's fairly basic. Would recommend if you have any checkups or appointments to get them taken care of in the Netherlands before you come to the US, as that is health insurance that's mostly emergency related. So next slide. So once I initiate this application for you, you will see this screen. You will receive an email from CIEE, and it basically asks you to set up an account in a portal, and this portal is known as Beacon. Can you go back one, Michelle?
Sorry.
Thank you. It's okay.
I think
it's okay.
Go to the next slide.
So you will see this application. It looks a little bit like your resume, I'm sure. You're kind of inputting really basic things. It can take you maybe an hour to complete. It's really not too intense of a document to fill out. You'll explain your motivations for interning in the US. You'll have a chance to provide some health information that might come in handy with the health insurance that you have. But note that it really shouldn't be too difficult to fill this out. It's a lot of information that you already have on hand. So, you could probably fill this out in a day. It might take some time to get a few extra documents, but it's pretty basic. So you can go to the next slide now. So one frequently asked question I have is financial information. So you have to show proof of funds during your stay in the US. So often what people click is that their stipend totals $1,500 or more per month, which is confirmed on your training plan. You may need to tell your host company that stipend and salary are essentially the same thing when it comes to this. That is something that frequently gets mixed up with the host companies. You can also upload copies of a bank statement, maybe your loan statement. Or if you aren't having a stipend that's $1,500 per month, maybe a parent or a guardian or someone else will be financially supporting you. So these are the options you have. The first one is usually the one that most people click. And Michelle, if I understand this correctly, you do encourage host companies to pay, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to jump in. And if you're coming through our program, which you obviously are, if you're sitting in this webinar, is we have a requirement of at least $3,000 a month that the companies need to pay. So I think every case, it'll be the top one.
Yeah. So just click the top one and then make sure that your host company understands that stipend and salary are the same thing. They just have to estimate per month your earnings.
Yeah. Next slide.
Okay, next slide. Yep. Another one is English ability. So as I've established, CIE We are your CIE local representative. So I do like to have like a one-on-one 10 to 15 minute Zoom call with you, not only to make sure that you don't have any questions or I can answer any questions, but also I sort of have to validate and verify your English ability, which I'm sure is not a problem with anyone here. So if you'd like, you can just click this. If you have test results from an English test, you're welcome to click these, but just note you can click that and then we can hop on Zoom, talk for a little bit. You can ask any questions you might have about the process, but I will be able to verify your English ability here.
Okay, so generally they'll always kind of hop onto a Zoom call with you, right?
Yeah.
Or so this will
Zoom
happen
call,
regardless. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen no matter what. So I do intend to, I have to like essentially on my part of this application, write like, yes, this candidate speaks English, they will be fine in a working environment. So that will happen anyway. But again, sometimes people have test results and they want to share them. That's fine too. But if it's easy, yes, you can just click this bottom one. You don't need to go look for your test results anywhere. Next slide, okay. So this is another piece. It's the HIPAA or HIPAA release form. So this is an law here in the US that allows your health information to be protected, but to be shared between parents, guardians, physicians, insurance companies in a worst case scenario. So you are essentially signing off that CIE as your health insurance provider can talk to medical providers if necessary when they are treating you. It's only in emergency situations. It's really a worst case scenario. But just know you can, if you'd like, you can Google HIPAA just to understand more about it. But that's kind of the general gist of what this release form is and what you're signing off to. So your information will be protected. But in the case that your doctors need to talk to your insurance company, you give them permission to do that.
No, straightforward.
So that's your application. Once you fill that out, and once your host company fills out the training plan, then all of your materials will be submitted to CIE. They may need to conduct a site visit with the company. If you get hired by a company that has like 25,000 employees, site visit isn't necessary. If it's about 5 employees, they will hop on Zoom just to make sure that the surroundings of the workplace are suitable for an international intern to be at. So once, they have to just CIE checks to make sure that you will be receiving the stipend that you say you are, that the host company is fit to serve you, that they have workers' compensation there, and then you will receive approval or denial within 1 month. It's extremely rare for an application to be denied if they get this far into the process. And 30 days or 1 month isn't always accurate if your host company isn't really being responsive to CIE. So I would just say to your host company, expect after they submit their training plan to expect an email from CIE just to confirm everything. And if they can hop on that and just be quick with that, then approval should be pretty quick. So once that happens, you are officially given a sponsored documents. It's called the DS 2019. So this will be sent to you in the mail and the address listed on your application. So make sure that that is your correct address because it's going to go there. I can provide you a tracking number for tracking that package if you're kind of in a time crunch, but you'll know when it's coming. After you receive that in the mail, then you can make your appointment at the consulate. So maybe after I'm done talking, I can provide you with this like waiting times estimator from the consulate in Amsterdam of how long it takes to receive an appointment. Right now it says 30 days. That number can go up, it can go down. About a month ago, it was only 1 day wait time. So it does fluctuate. And that is also why we ask that you allow as much time as possible to get an appointment. You can also make an appointment, and if you keep checking the website, you can cancel that appointment and get a one that's sooner. Sometimes they pop up if people have to cancel. But that is essentially, whatever your appointment you check is the one you will be getting But again, cancellations happen all the time.
I just want to clarify two things actually from my side.
Yeah.
The virtual site visit, is there still a cost involved in that?
Yes, that is a $250 cost that will be passed along to the host company.
Even though it's virtual, so they don't have to visit.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. And then, so to clarify, so that submission is then your training plan, and then together with that online.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And
So,
all of that, sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
No, so just those two things. So not the offer letter, because that's one of the questions.
Correct. Yes, I'm sorry, correct. You don't have to upload your offer letter. You do have to provide proof to me just so I know when we can get started on this. But yeah, once those two are submitted, and I will be looking at the application, the training plan before, and try and get any questions out of the way, then CIE will review.
Okay, great. Nice. Next slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, anyway, I do hope that everything about the visa was clear. It might be a little confusing, but I am available on phone and email. If when the time comes you have any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat. So
yeah,
I think there is a moment now that you can raise your hand and I can let you kind of speak. But yeah,
and it's,
otherwise,
yeah, I know, right? It's early in the process. It might not make any sense at all, but I'm sure it will one day. It's a lot of information.
So we've got a few students, so I guess this is useful for those. So hi if you're here. But yeah, for those other ones, I think it'll just be a really useful resource later on.
Cool.
Great.
Cool. Okay. So something else that we do at the Netherland-America Foundation is we provide grants. So we have had the Dutch to USA internship program going on for almost 6 years. And this program awards grants to high-achieving low-income Dutch students to intern in the US. The grant will cover living expenses, a housing deposit, health insurance, and visa costs. They go hand in hand, and flights at no direct cost to either the intern or the host company. So we've been making grants again since 2017. We've kind of dropped a little bit with COVID, but are slowly getting back up. And we aim to provide 50 grants this year. So if you do fit in the high achieving low income bracket, I encourage you to take a look at the application, which I'll also pop in the chat after I finish speaking. High achieving means that you have a grade average of at least 7 out of 10. And low income means that you receive en willende beurs, or an equivalent that you can best explain on your application. You also, so we say Dutch students, even if your nationality is not Dutch, but you've been living there, you went to high school in the Netherlands, that's fine to apply as well. Or if you have come to the Netherlands for your master's or PhD and you really intend to stay here for the duration of your career, and you have proof that you are planning to become a permanent resident or a citizen, that is also fine to apply as well. So, we really provide these grants to a multitude of industries and companies, international relations, medicine's a big one, but also things like puppetry. An alumni of this program actually just worked on the Pinocchio movie by Guillermo del Toro. So that's exciting. And they've been at institutions like labs, the Whitehead Institute for Biomedical Research, that's at MIT, but also the UN. This is Susan. She was at the UN last year. So it does not matter the industry you're going on. You do have to be going to the US on a visa, not an ESTA, which I think applies to everyone here that tends to go to the US on a visa. So just know that no matter what industry you're in, I encourage you to take a look at the application.
There is actually one question from David in the chat, and his question is high achieving only measured by GPA?
So, yes, I think for right now, we do want to take a look at your grades list and transcripts, but if there's extenuating circumstances, I definitely encourage you to explain a bit more in the application. It really helps us because we do have a lot of applicants to treat this as like sort of a binary situation, but if you would like to apply it, if it's lower than 7, that I encourage you to explain more in the application. High achieving also relates to if you've been like a leader before with your peers, or if you've had other internships and work experience. We kind of take it in holistically.
Perfect. Great. Let's see. Okay, there is another question, a longer one from Wouter. I don't know if you see it.
Okay, yep, I see. Appointment at the consulate. So yes, Wouter is asking if the appointment at the consulate needs to be in the Netherlands. I'd encourage, yes, it is in the Netherlands, specifically Amsterdam, but if you, for example, are away and you really can't make it there, you can try to go to another appointment at a consulate. I just don't exactly know if you would be accepted to it, but you can certainly try.
And yeah, I can speak on behalf of past candidates.
Okay.
They've had to go there. Some of them had to actually end up going somewhere else. One went to Brussels and the other one actually went to somewhere in Croatia, I think, just because either was waiting time or the one was not in the country at the time.
Yeah, and so interesting thing about the Netherlands too is if you make it in the Netherlands, it will be sent to your address in the Netherlands within like a week or so. Otherwise, you have to go pick it up. So if
that's true,
that might provide some logistical issues for some of you. How many months before starting the internship is the appointment? So I had the wait time of like 2 to 3 months. I'd encourage you to have your appointment for at least 3 weeks out before your start date. That would probably be best. But again, you can't really predict that, unfortunately, because the appointment wait times can change so often, but would definitely, suggest you aim for 3 weeks before you start that you have an appointment. I want to start in September, October, but I'm not in the Netherlands in May, June, and July. Yeah, that timeline would probably work. If you are in the Netherlands in August and you want to start in September, yeah, that definitely, it probably works right now. Sometimes wait times pick up a little bit in the summer, but it's doable. So yeah, again, it's kind of like starting as soon as possible. And then once you have your DS 2019, you can make your appointment, but you don't have to make it right away.
Yeah. And this is also something we've received a few tips from the past candidates that we'll kind of like put together in a document or in some shape or form soon when it's more relevant for everyone as well. And particularly about, I don't know, booking the consulate interview. Tobias, you raised your hand. You can unmute yourself if you'd like.
Perfect. I got a question. I think that might be relevant for a lot of people in here. Is there something we can do before we have the internship, or is everything which is regarding the visa after we sign the internship contract?
Yes, visa related, you do have to sign that internship contract before. And it's just because the major part of the visa is your training plan. There's not much you can do, but I can explain the documents you'd need. I can post that to the Mighty Networks, Michelle, if you'd like, the documents that you'd want to acquire so that filling out your application is really easy.
Yeah, you mean those from your online application or the training plan?
For the online application. Yeah, so you will need like your school to endorse you to go abroad or fill out an so I can explain everything a bit more, but I think it'd be best to write it out, and I'll post that on Mighty Networks so you can understand what's expected of you.
Perfect. Does that
Thanks.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, great. Should we carry on? I think there are no more questions.
Yeah, I will post the link to the Dutch to USA application here, and I will also post the link to the wait times at the consulate just for your reference.
I suppose that's relevant, the Dutch to USA. When are the deadlines? I think you've now made them rolling applications, or am I wrong?
So yeah, they're mostly rolling. We have multiple deadlines per year, and we like the turnover to be fairly quick. So I would say once you submit your application, you'd probably hear back within 2 to 3 months if you receive the grant. And I'll go ahead and post this in the chat.
Okay, great. Amazing. Thank you. Then I will hand over the mic to Willemijn, and she'll talk about the trends in the American internship market, which is also where you will be now with a lot of your internship search. So I think this will be very useful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you so much, Maggie, for this fantastic overview of the visa process. I know that is always such area of so many questions for so many of you who are in this webinar today. So Michelle asked me to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the internship market here in the US, and that's something that a lot of you have questions about today. So I will be talking a little bit about what we have seen first from the NUF's perspective, and then what I've been seeing just personally going on around me. As Maggie mentioned, we have been running the Dutch to USA internship program since 2017, and I think that about half of the interns that have interned through Dutch to USA have been doing internships at university labs, which is really, really interesting to me. And I think that there are multiple reasons for that, and I don't think that we have enough time or space to really explore all of that, but it's just a reality for the program for the past couple of years that a lot of them have, and a lot of them go on to go build careers in the health and medicine fields, which is really interesting. And what we've seen is that a lot of the labs don't have a lot of funding and are very grateful to have interns for several months, but there's also a lot of relations between university labs on this side of the ocean and the Netherlands. So there's a lot of personal relations that you can leverage if an internship in a lab is of interest to you, to be talking with your professor in the labs and say, do you have connections with a lab in the United States that I could approach for a possible internship? So that is number one. So that is mostly for the medicine and health sciences. For outside of medicine health sciences, so the other 50% of the interns that we have been seeing in the Dutch to USA program, I think that there's a big difference between how the American job market approaches internships and how the Dutch approach internships. For the Dutch, internships are very much a semi-employment in a way, and I think that that's a pro to coming to the United States as an intern. For a lot of large companies, and large companies, I'm talking about 3,000 plus workers, they have formal internship programs during the summer to host American interns, and these internships are usually 3 months. They start in July, they end in September, sometimes a little earlier, June through August, depending a little bit on when school starts, depending on where in the country they're located, because school starts in various durations during the summer. So about 3 months, and they are very formal internship programs for a very short durations. That has pros and that has cons. If you do something like that, you'll be posted at a company with a cohort of other interns, and you'll have a very formal internship program. There's a lot of other interns for you to hang out with and to ask questions of, but it's a very short program, and there's oftentimes a lot less interaction with superiors, with other workers at a company, and because the timeline is relatively short, the learning opportunities that you will have are of a shorter duration as well. So if you're interested in a longer internship, it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities, and we've certainly seen that, because the average internship that we see among our interns is about 6 months. So it's certainly out there. So and I'm always interested as someone who also hires people, I'm always interested to have conversations with people who are looking to do an internship, and I know that a lot of other employers are as well, because we're always looking for talents. And I think if you're looking for an internship as a young person starting out in your career, your approach should be that you're not just looking for a learning opportunity as you're having a conversation with someone who could be your potential employer, because if you're just having that conversation with an employer saying, I want to learn A, B, and C, then your employer, if your future employer, is going to think, well, what's in it for me? So you're going to have to approach it of like, okay, I can contribute to your company or to your organization by doing A, B, and C. Now, you always have to be a little careful in that as well, because you cannot oversell yourself, because you're also at very much at the beginning of your career. So if you come in as an intern and you say, I'm going to maximize your profit by 10% and you're an intern and you're going to intern with me for 6 months, I'm not going to believe you. So you have to be realistic in how you approach that. But overall here in the United States, and that's a big difference with the Netherlands, employers are very much interested in what you can offer them. So that's something that you have to think about. And I think that the Dutch approach is that that there's much more a wait and see approach, or isn't that obvious, or like it's very, for some Dutch people it can be a little difficult to talk about what you have accomplished. But here in the United States it's very normal to say, these are my accomplishments and this is what I would like to do, this is what I would like to learn, this is what I can offer, and just to have a conversation about that. Let's see, what am I forgetting from this slide, because I'm not following the slide. So yes, as the slide says, American students' internships are usually not part of the formal university curriculum. So the summer internships, so they're something that you do as an extracurricular activity during the summer, but not as part of your curriculum. So that's something that you can use as a Dutch intern as well to stand out. That you say, this is part of my my university education, and an employer will take note of that. The flexibility is something that employers are interested as well, because employers want to spend time mentoring an intern, and they want to spend time on you. They want to make sure that they have enough time during their schedule, during their regular work schedule. They want to make sure that you have enough resources to be able to do the work that you do. So sometimes it's a much better deal for an employer to say, okay, please start in January and be with us through July. That's very well possible. So that can be a plus as well. So even though summer internships are more common in the United States, don't limit yourself to the idea of summer internships. So I think that's it from this slide. Can we go to the next slide?
That's the last point, actually. The most common start months are January, February, September. Is that something that the NAF found? Okay, because that's full summer, right? So
yeah.
Okay.
For the Dutch interns that have started through Dutch to USA program, January, February, and September are the most common start months.
Ah, that's good. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and that's something for you to know as well as you're searching for an internship and planning your internship, and especially with the information that Maggie just gave you around the visa and the timeline that you need to apply for a visa, is that you say, okay, if I want to start in September, this is the timeline that I need for that. So that's another reason that we put it on there.
Yeah, and actually, while I'm just thinking about it, I think some of you might be wondering, oh no, now I'm part of the program in 2023. January, February would be next year. We would still accommodate you for that. So it's not, our program doesn't strictly run in the calendar year. So once you're in, and we'll accommodate you. Cool. So next slide. Yeah.
With COVID, we've had a lot of changes in the workplace with remote work, and that's something that we get a lot of questions about as well. So a lot of companies offer remote work opportunities. However, there are rules related around the J-1 visa, around what you as an intern can do. If you want to intern in the United States under a J-1 visa, it cannot be a remote internship. And those are US government rules. It's like you cannot come to the United States and then just sit in your student housing or wherever you find housing and just work remotely for a company and not have any interaction. The whole purpose of an internship is for you to have these in-person interaction in the workplace. And if your employer does not offer that, you will not get a J-1 visa. So that's something incredibly important. So you have to be in the office, or your employer has to be in the office at least 60% of the time. And those are the US government rules. Most US employers in at least the recent years have gone back to at least 60% of the time in the workplace. That's at least what we do here at the Netherland-America Foundation. And I think that's a system that works. Some employers are more flexible. Here at the NAF, for example, anybody can come in. The rule is at least 60% of the time, but if you want to come more often, you're always welcome to come more often. Some people do because they just like to they just like to be here, or they like to have an office to go to and then to use home at home. So there are all kinds of variations on it. But the 60% rule, that is absolutely necessary for a visa. So if you're talking with an employer and they say the internship is purely remote, that is wonderful, but in that case, we cannot help you. So that's incredibly important to keep in mind.
Can I there was one question that
Yep.
kind of came up with one company, and I think this would be
Yep.
good to chat about now,
Yep.
is the possibility of WeWork. I know that's very specific.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can discuss about what are the options there. So the company's like, yes, we're small, but we can facilitate a student in a WeWork office space.
That is a very good question. I'm looking to Maggie for that one.
Yeah.
I didn't want to drop you.
Yeah.
Maggie
Yeah.
has asked that before,
Yeah.
so I thought I'd hand
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I don't think that anyone I know has had a visa through WeWork, but I do think it's possible.
Yeah.
I would like to check back, but it should be fine. It's really meant to have like the supervision of your host company supervisor. That's like the most important thing, is to be talking to someone in the workplace every day. So there is like specific language on that, which I will find for you. WeWork should be fine most of the time.
I think it might just become more relevant for some companies that have then got rid of the office space. They still tend to work together. So
yes,
yeah, but good things to remember. Anyway, Willemijn, continue.
Yeah. Then as you are applying for internship and having conversations with possible employers, emphasize your own diverse background. And I want to say a little bit about diversity, because diversity is many, many things. It is gender identity, it can be racial backgrounds, it can be ethnic backgrounds, it can be language, but it's also education, it is experience, and it is thoughts. And coming from the Netherlands already, that is incredibly interesting for many employers. Being high achieving is incredibly interesting, but a lot of employers are looking specifically for talent that does not look and think exactly like them. It is good for a lot of employers to be challenged and to have diverse voices in the room. And there's many reasons for that. And one of the reasons is that if you just have people sitting around a table who all think alike, you're not moving forward as a company. You're not able to come up with creative ideas. You're not able to think out of the box. So that's something that you can definitely emphasize as you are talking with employers, is like, I am from the Netherlands, or I am bringing this perspective with me, and that's an important aspect of the internship experience as well. The language skills are important as well. A lot of employers are very eager to have international interns, but they do want to know that your English is at a professional grade. It's perfectly all right to speak some Dinglish every now and then. I certainly do. Dinglish would be the Dutch English. I certainly do. Maggie can attest to that. Every now and then I just mangle my English in very interesting ways. But employers do want to know that your English is sufficient, that you can have a professional conversation in the workplace. But it's at the same time, it's totally okay to make mistakes, but be humble about when you make a mistake. Be able to laugh about yourself when you make a mistake, because a little bit of self-humor goes a long way. As for finding an internship, of course, we have the wonderful partnerships that we have with you, Michelle, but also explore your own avenues, leverage social media, post on professional networks. LinkedIn is an incredibly good source, but also finds communities in an area. If you have an area in the United States that you're interested to intern at, for example, you want to go to the Research Triangle, or there's another area, find a group, perhaps a Dutch company, or a group where a Dutch company is associated with, and post yourself on there, and be upfront about what you're looking for. Make sure that you post about what your talents are, be realistic about what your talents are. Don't promise the world, but also don't be too humble. So that really is an art, and that is one of the gifts that this internship is giving you as well, is learning that part of employment. And then within the technology sector, we've all been reading the news about the many layoffs in the technology sector, and that's something that we all are grappling with as well. A lot of companies are going through some very difficult times, so we are watching that closely on what that means for internships with these companies. But there are many other industries outside of technology as well, so don't just focus on the technology industry as well. Even if tech is one of the focus areas for you, there are many other companies out there who need tech people, even though they may not be in the tech industry itself. But I know that Michelle will have a lot more insights about that being located in San Francisco. So I think that there are a couple of more questions in the chat.
There was one question from Olivia, so I'll read it out to you. So she said, so would you recommend emphasizing this internship as being part of my education, or better not? Because she will be a fresh graduate rather than still a student.
Either or. It depends on what your goals are and what you want to achieve, and it also depends on the kind of internship that you want to do. For example, if you're approaching an internship at a lab, I would emphasize it more as part of your education. If you're doing if you want to do an internship at a bank, you may want to focus it more as a professional development or as opposed to an education. So it really depends. It's like there's so many nuances around it. So that's just very difficult for me to give advice about.
So I think if I talk about that as well, it's like I think if it's a strict summer program, I know some of them have a requirement of you still being at a university, and then I think they're more set up for that type of profile. But I think in general, advertising that you're a graduate and that you want to look for a first job experience in the form of an internship is a perfect way to go. I think it shows that you have a lot more experience if you're a graduate rather than just a student. But it depends on the company at the end of the day. I think that's something where you have to feel it out a little bit. But I think as a general guideline, I think if they have a set summer internship structure and are looking for university students, then I think go for that. Otherwise, I think graduate. Perfect. So there's another question from Caroline, and then we must carry on. So, so she said, so for big companies who are only offering summer internships, do you recommend reaching out to them and saying you would like to do a longer internship during the year instead of a summer internship, or how would you approach that? Yeah, Willemijn. Otherwise, I can also try to answer it a little bit.
All right, I'm reading.
So maybe I'll
please go ahead. Yeah,
I think this is all like more brains are better than one.
Yeah.
So I think if it's a very structured internship program, they're very unlikely for you to extend it. We have had more informal situations in our past candidates where he's extended his internship. It was initially 4 months, 3 months or something, and then now it's become 6 to 7 months. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for sure. I think if the company's smaller, they will always accommodate you. If you are a talent, like Willemijn said, they'll want to keep you on. And it's as simple as that. I think you can also extend your, this is something actually that's very relevant is, can you extend your visa if the offer comes up that they want to extend your internship? Is your visa extendable?
Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
I'm pretty sure I was right, but
that's
something, if that scenario pops up, you do have the flexibility. I don't know, Willemijn, if you have any additions.
No, I think that's right, and I think I have seen internships with formal summer internships in one area of the company, but then in another area of a company they did one-offs. But it's usually who do you know, and it's not just who do you know in terms of it is. it is who do you get to know, how do you make the introductions, what do you have to offer, and what can you offer the company. And if you go in and you want to do a 6-month internship and you have a very solid plan on what you want to achieve and how you can help that company, they may be willing to listen. So you have to try it out. And you don't, one thing that I do want to emphasize is don't be discouraged by rejection. If you're not getting rejected, then then you're not trying hard enough. And that may sound incredibly harsh, but it is part of the learning opportunity. So never take rejections personally. It is never a rejection of who you are as a person. It is never a rejection of who you are and your talents. It may just not be the right match between what you want and what the company wants. And that is all that a rejection is. So never ever take it personally and never ever get discouraged. It is just an opportunity to try again.
Yeah. And I think as a rejection, it's still, they know who you are. You never know. They might have actually really liked you and they'll start talking about your profile, and that might end up spreading to another company or another person. It doesn't mean that the door is indefinitely closed and that it was a mistake, which is definitely never.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely very important. I think trying to hit that ceiling of what you think you can do and learning from doing many applications is part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, because it's like I get a lot of energy just talking with someone, and even though it's like, even if I cannot help them, but just having a conversation with someone who has a lot of talents, and it's like it brings me joy and gives me a lot of energy. And it's like, and I always try to see within my network is like, is there like, can I introduce them to someone? And usually the answer is like no, or I don't know it, or for whatever reason. But it's like it's not for lack of trying. And you're absolutely right, because you do stick around. And like, I still think about like a conversation that I had like 5 years ago with someone that I had like, oh my God, I remember that person's like, I wonder how this person is. So it's like impressions matter. And
yeah. Perfect. I think let's carry on. So then, yeah, thank you so much, Willemijn. Thank you so much, Maggie. I think if anyone still has questions in the chat, this is the time. So I'll present kind of a bit of an overview of the costs involved, and then we have a more interactive Q&A. So I think then if you do still have any questions. All right, so costs involved. So the one hand, we have the company. So like we've already explained with the visa process, there's a cost for the company. It depends on the duration of the internship. So it's a maximum of a year, a minimum of 3 months. And then that's why we have this range. There's also a processing fee involved for the company. And then like Maggie explained, there is also a potential site visit cost if the company is smaller. So, and then that's something that the CEIE will discuss with the company. So if the company asks you, because I know this time our setup's a bit different, and I know for some students, they've just been discussing with the company directly, and I haven't been roped in, which is totally comfortable if you think that's the best scenario to take, then this is the kind of, this is the information that you can relay onto them. And then I can also share some more specific cost breakdowns for them via Mighty Networks. So that's from the company side now. So then from the candidate cost, so this is your cost. So before you have the interview, you will have a service fee cost of about $220. This is all just part of the visa process. And once you have that appointment, once you have the DS 2019, then you can make an appointment, and that'll cost about $160. And then there are some minimal fees. For example, if you need to update your passport or picture fees, but that's likely not to be the case. So in total, that should be what you are looking at. And then as a rough ballpark, we also have kind of like things that you definitely need to keep in mind, right? If you're going to, let's say, the Bay Area, which is how we've done this costing, then you'll have to be paying rent pretty soon. So yeah, you'll have your first month's rent and your first month's deposit, and the flight will be on you as well. So consider that as you start with kind of your logistical timeline. And I know for a few candidates, when they initially arrived in the Bay Area, it was first like an Airbnb situation, so that can be a little bit more costly, but that's also something we can connect you to the candidates later on. And yeah, have a very, very real discussion, right? They are the best people to ask because they've been in exactly the situation. So, but that's holistically, these are all the costs that you should be expecting. And yeah, with that, we have now the Q&A session. So I don't see any questions in the chat. Otherwise, just, yeah, put up your hand and let me know if you want to chat. Any more questions for Maggie about the visa process or about the kind of internship trends with Willemijn? Yeah, so I'll leave a little bit of time if anyone's typing away furiously. But I think
I'm on the, I think I mentioned this on like the Mighty Networks thing. So you can also, can you direct message on that?
You can direct message. I've been direct messaging with a lot of students actually.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of a very centralized platform for questions. Like now it's not actually by email, which always becomes a bit overwhelming. So
yeah, well, I'm there as well. So
yeah.
My first and last name are here. So feel free to chat me.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's perfect to know. Yeah, okay. I think we'll just, oh, here you go. There you go. There's a question. From Valentina. So how to negotiate salary in a company when there's no official internship position? Oof, it's tricky. I don't know if Willemijn, if you have any things that pop to mind initially, because this is something, yeah, it would be more of an opinion from my side, but not from experience.
It really depends on the type of company that you're talking with. There are many smaller companies that don't really have a budget for interns and don't offer a salary for interns, and that's something that you as an intern will have to budget for as well. If you are a low-income student, then you can apply to the Dutch to USA student for a stipend. If you are not from a low-income background, then you have to look for other sources of funding within your own network or looking for other stipend possibilities. Other companies may have a budget in mind for interns, but it is a question that you have to ask, and it is a question that you can ask: is there a salary associated with this internship? And that is the first question, and they will tell you yes or no, and then you can have the conversation around what the salary is. I would not ask for the moon. I would also not undersell yourself. But most companies have most companies that do have salaries for interns. They have fairly well established ranges, and if you go outside of that range, or if you say I am worth 20 times more than that or 3 times more than that, then a company says, well, I'm sorry, I can't work with you because this is just the range that we have. So you have to be realistic as an intern as well. Michelle, do you have anything to add?
So I think first of all, we as a program, we have a minimum of 3,000 a month. That then works out to X amount an hour. So in the past, we've had some interns negotiate a little bit. I think it really depends on your background. So the one person that did end up negotiating, he was a PhD student. So in that sense, there's a lot more experience involved. It was a bit more of a flexible internship position, but I would feel out the waters with the HR manager and say, is it a set? Maybe it's out of their limits. Maybe they don't even have funding and there's nothing they can do about it anyway. Then I wouldn't burn bridges and ask and be too insistent about it. It's something that you can come back to us about later, because from past experience, at least we have for Boston area and for Silicon Valley area, we have a bit of a experience now from past interns what their salary was. So I wouldn't say a no, but I would not play too hardball. That would be my recommendation.
And Michelle, do you use Glassdoor.com? I don't know if it's like an American thing or not.
Yeah, we do use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's self-reported market research basically. So it's Glassdoor.com is what it's called. It's not like the be all end all, but it is a resource to see what other interns may have been paid at that company.
Yeah, no, that's very true. So I know if I'm not so sure how accurate it is in Europe, but is it pretty accurate in the US? You can rely on it.
Yeah, I don't exactly know how accurate, but a lot of people do use it. And like a requirement of using it is that you have to like report something about your experience. So there's
Yeah.
a degree of accuracy.
Yeah.
But again, it's not the end all be all. And things have changed too over the years. So it could be outdated in some companies.
Yeah, so I guess what I will say is that if you reach that situation, you'll be chatting with me anyway, and then we can have
Sure.
another conversation, look at the company. This is for Valentina now. So yeah, so that would be my advice. Then there's another question from Olivia. So any tips for convincing the company to hire an international if it comes with those associated visa costs, almost 2K? I think, Maggie, maybe you can chat actually about the past conversation you had with the HR manager with one of the companies that we've communicating with.
Yeah, so I did speak to an HR manager last week, and it can almost be seen as a benefit that first off, there is no legal team involved in this. It's just the Netherland-America Foundation assisting you with this and assisting the host company. So it could be a money saver in some cases if I know there's like, almost $2,000 of costs, but this is pretty low when it comes to the value that they would get. And as like, a master's level intern, and over the course of how many months, it could be a year, and they would put out $2,000 for those costs, and there wouldn't be a lot of bureaucratic sludge to get through. That's what I would say, but I don't know if you have something better to add.
You definitely just emphasize that you have international edge. You have that background that no US local can provide. Leaning into kind of the Dutch universities have a very high caliber. That's where you're coming from. That would be a big convincing point for me as well. And it's a lot of, especially if it's graduates, master's graduates and PhDs, if they're local, they sometimes have to pay more. So it's like you are actually not, as an international, it might be a cost benefit for them. So it's not necessarily, you will be, the company will be spending a lot more money on you. I don't know, Willemijn, if you have any thoughts on that as well.
No, I don't.
Yeah, no.
No, nothing to add beyond what you just said.
Yeah. And then I think Tobias just put up his hand. So if you want to chat quick, ask a question.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Because my question would be, I had not an intense look at the companies yet. I'm more preparing my CV right now. But what I've seen is more like the summer internship. So are there any, I already watched the videos, but are there any like websites where you find especially internships which are longer for like 6 months to a year? Or is it more than to approach the companies directly? That would be my question.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer. Yeah, so I think then, so that's just the way that the US is set up, is they very much set up for summer internships. Those are the ones that are then posted and listed. And then you have the open applications for longer ones. I think it's something worth, it's similar to kind of the question that someone asked before, is like, if they only have summer internships, but I'm looking for something longer, should I even bother applying? I would still apply, especially if you think the company's cool, then go ahead and tell them you really like the company and I really want to work for you. I think then that will speak for itself. And then they can, if they have a very set up structure, for example, then maybe they can't accommodate you, but maybe they can. So I think it's definitely not, I wouldn't limit yourself to that. But I just know in the US, that's kind of, they have a very set summer guideline. But I like, as the NAF has experience with, and as we have experience with, most of our interns don't actually fall into that summer internship front anyway.
So it would be more like also then in the cover letter or something to write in, okay, like the plan would be like to extend or to make an internship which is longer than just 3 months.
Yeah.
Or...
I would definitely express it from the get-go that you'd be interested in extending. Okay. And yeah, saying that you have the desire of, but wouldn't limit yourself because you don't want to close your door anyway, and say that you wouldn't be interested otherwise. So
yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, of course. Anyone else? I know someone put up their hand. Yeah, so I think whoever put up their hand, I think there was another person.
There's Carolyn.
Yeah. Oh, it was Carolyn. Oh, perfect.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
I have a question regarding job descriptions. I had a bit of a look, and I saw a lot of junior positions, which seem to be for recent graduates with no experience at all. Should we apply for those kinds of positions as well, or really just internship positions?
That's a good question. I think you can also still apply to those because we're also looking, it would be paid anyway, right? So it's kind of like a first job experience in that sense.
Exactly, like that's what I read, and I feel like that had a bit more, like there was more options on that, rather than long-term internships.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I would also just apply to that as well.
Okay, thank you.
And I think on that note, I think because I just want to be respectful of Maggie and Willemijn's time, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I see there is one more question from Olivia. I think my recommendation is just send me that question over the platform and I will respond there or jump into one of our office hour meetings. So perfect. So yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you again so much, Willemijn and Maggie, for explaining everything so nicely. Now we have it all recorded for the record, which is great. And yeah, so we have a newsletter that you can sign up on our website. Start your application. So I think this is relevant for any one that just wants to refer a friend. We'll be opening our applications again on the 1st of March. It's something that I just need to communicate on the website still. And then, yeah, follow us on our socials. Perfect. So thank you very much again. I will stop the recording here.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.